Well, let's go ahead and get started. I think Ellen was told her, thank you for being here. I know you.
I've watched all the videos. I mean, I know because I've always had board meetings that are the same day, but I got them to change this.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sorry we've made this difficult for you to be here, but I appreciate it. We'll call the meeting to order. Pretty simple meeting tonight, just one agenda item, which is discussion and question and answer and on all the rankings of all the projects. We had Jared Kersey, our Assistant Public Works Director here, Kim Quinn, our Finance Director. We got Jose, the Animal Shelter Manager, and Pedro and myself. If any of us can't answer any questions, I believe Trenton Tidwell from Kimley Horn is on his way. But if at any time you have any questions along the way, please ask, and we'll see if we can't answer those. One thing to bring to your attention just right off the bat, so by a council person request, we had somebody ask, a councilman ask if we would bring to your attention a project that's not on your ranking list. And that is the East Pond project, East Pond Fishing Pond project. We have it on up on the boards here. This is everybody. I know y'all are probably familiar with this, right?
Yep.
It's in the neighborhood there, off East McElroy, between that and the Bird Streets and Rough Rider Stadium up there.
Sorry, we're
No, that's all right.
we're conversing. I want to thank Adele for always having fantastic notes and every bit of documentation that we need. Do you mind if I?
No, absolutely. I was going to ask y'all for your opinion on that and just.
So
what
the
its status was.
the East Pond. So this is over near Saginaw High School. It would be taking an existing pond that's already over there that's spring fed and developing the area around it so that people can actually get to it. Because right now it's there and people will fish in it, but they're just walking up and from neighborhood and everything. It's spring fed. Randy said that in his entire time of living here, he's never seen it dry, even during our biggest droughts. And the project, Kimley Horn, we met with City Council, Parks Board met with City Council as a special called meeting to go over the master plan. And in this, it started at a project that's around 17 million. And after making some calculated changes and omitting some things, got it down to where it's about $10 million. And the idea of this pond is not to fill this area with a bunch of stuff, let it be more nature centered. For people that are complaining about growth and apartments going up and chicken places going up, you know, if they want to get out in town somewhere and just see nature, this would be the spot. The master plan has a lot of projects on it that didn't make this initial list of what we brought to this bond committee meeting. I don't know what everybody else's thought or the council members' thought on it, but it just seemed with the amount of things that we have that need immediate attention with parks, we didn't really want to bring it to this bond package meeting, but we can certainly discuss it. And if they want to see it happen and be on there, then by all means we can. And if any questions, y'all fire them away.
Pull up the budget.
What would we give up if this is not part of the original plan and the original considerations? 85 million, what we're talking about, adding another 10 million?
As it stands right now from the updated what we got from Kimley Horn, yeah, it would be.
You'd be adding a $95 million package, you'd be asking, be put forth to the voters. I can't hear you.
Gabe said in the last session for us to have about $100 million as a. Total bond? Yeah, to kind of overall to be shooting for.
But that's not the updated information that I got. I understand, I watched most of that, the last meeting, because I could not attend. But I did watch it.
I think
So let me just add to that. So just everybody keep in mind that what this committee decides to recommend to the council is just that, a recommendation. And it's based on all of the projects that could possibly be in play, which is the list of 20 or 21 or so there you have, plus this one. There's, you know, the council has a ultimate final say and will be the ones to determine what goes forward for the election, if there is an election, to sell bonds. And so, again, this group can, hopefully in the next meeting or so, and this meeting or maybe one more, that we will all come to a consensus on what to recommend to the council, and then it'll be up to them to what they go forward with. So, yeah, this project, again, it did not make the original list because, I think, because of the ranking, its overall ranking from the Parks Board, and just the cost of it generally.
Yeah, there is 2 phases to it. The first part's $3 million, which is essentially getting it prepared and getting it set up to where people can have access to it. And then phase 2, which is about $7 million, would be things like the restroom and some other furnishings,
Pavilions,
benches, bathrooms, things like that. It's a great project. It's one of my favorite that we have in the master plan. I really want to see it happen in my lifetime, just because I think it would be really cool. It's one of those where it should happen eventually. If it happens right now, certainly we could throw a phase in there or the whole thing in there, depending on what council's interested in seeing and what we believe. You know, I know the mayor had mentioned William Houston Park being the biggest primary from the parks side of it, just because it is needing to be improved. It has actual tangible things that need to happen with it so that it's more usable. And this space right now, while it's not usable, it's also not something that's already developed and needs to be redeveloped. So
I think in the grand scheme of things and everything that we have on the docket of importance, I still don't feel like this should be on the top of our list. That's just me personally.
Can I ask a question? Based on the email that David sent and the response to that, we're talking about Park Center Boulevard and Opal as far as streets, and then the Basswood intersection and the corridor. On this sump plan that went out with that, does that mean we're going to take this out of the bond proposal? Does that stay in the bond proposal? Are they doing that under maintenance?
So there's maintenance components of some of the street projects. And some of these projects are nothing but maintenance, but most of them are, you know, recondition or rebuilding. You want to weigh in on that, Trent?
Yeah, for sure. Did everyone, I know that email got sent today, but you're asking about the Opal, we'll call it sump project in the Park Center?
Yes.
Sump project, yep. So what I was trying to kind of summarize in that email was Jared and Randy tackle the more cost-effective solutions to street maintenance with their annual budgets. And so those are usually asphalt roads that have higher scores, higher PCI, better conditions. But last time we talked to council about the overall street network condition, the decision was that the larger reconstruction projects, such as Opal and Park Center, would have to not be addressed necessarily with annual budgets, but rather with a bond program.
Okay.
So I was putting more emphasis that, you know, ideally it would be nice to have, so, I mean, if it isn't in the bond program, just to be fully transparent, we do have a plan to fund it with the annual budget. It's taking 3 years to save up enough money to do one of them. And so I think David had asked about, well, is Park Center on the sump program? And it is. However, it's because it's taking multiple years to save up for one project. The next one just isn't showing on the radar yet, but it is indeed the next project in line.
Is what you consider revenue, bond, what you said save up for, is that considered a revenue stream project or something like that that I saw,
So-
I got information from?
When I say save up, so every year we meet with Kim to talk about the enterprise fund, the general fund, and the streets fund, and the storm drain fund. Enterprise includes the water and sewer revenues. I'm not sure exactly how they're collected, but she allocates money to each of those funds every year. So the SUMP program pulls from the enterprise fund because it has utilities, and it also pulls from the street fund because it's a street. It doesn't normally pull, we're not planning on it pulling from the drainage fund because a lot of these asphalt roadways, like Opal right here, doesn't really have an internal storm drain system. So those funds is what I'm talking about, and the revenue would be however Kim puts money into those funds. I'm not really sure on how that revenue comes about, to be honest.
So it's really apples and oranges.
What are the apples and the oranges,
I
just so
mean,
I can be sure what I'm
If it's gonna
confirming?
be in the bond versus be in maintenance, they're two completely different things. What you wanna do with it.
You're right, yeah, so almost all of the street projects are capital improvement projects, which usually add capacity to a road, they upgrade intersections, they add sidewalks, stuff like that. Those are all of the other capital roadway projects. The ones that are different would be Opal and Park Center are maintenance projects, which fully reconstruct the road, but we don't anticipate to touch the sidewalks or intersections.
I was just trying to see if we could make some room for this project by moving it around.
Are you talking about the pond project or the Opal? And sorry, I walked in late, so I
Yeah,
might
sorry, the,
The pond
so
project.
city council had asked that we revisit this because it was not in the prioritized list, and so we're briefly having a discussion
Okay.
about that. Great idea on trying to see how we can open some of it up. I don't want to undersell this project because I do believe in it, and I think if Adele may disagree, I think it's like the coolest project that we have in the master plan because it is going to bring something new and different, and it's going to have a nature space to it, which I think we have great parks. We have Willow Creek Park, but you can't really like escape town, right? And and everything to be able to go enjoy those places. This would be one of them. So if they want to see it itemized in here, I got no problem with us doing that and letting council decide what they want to do with it. If anybody has any other thoughts.
Trenton, what year are we in the 3 years of saving? Have we started saving yet?
We're in 2025 is year 2.
I have a comment on the proposed addition. Having served on the previous bond committee, we really relied heavily on the Parks Board to prioritize how that money was spent, and I don't see how this bond potential is any different. So if the Parks Board did not feel like bringing this project to us for consideration, then I don't think we should consider it, knowing that if council's going to take recommendations, if they feel and get the votes for it, they could put it into the bond consideration themselves without us having to worry about saying it's our 1, 2, or 3, or if it should even be on there. So it's their prerogative to decide what they want to do with our suggestions. I just don't think we should add something on now this late in the program, especially that the Parks Board did not prioritize this as one of their top 5 or 6. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments about the pond project? So we, yes, ma'am.
She brought up, how much does that free up if we were taking that out? Which line item, is that the Opal? So, you know how if this didn't go through, it was gonna be the 1, 2, 3 save up, like you said, the 3 year saving up? What would that help with this line item that?
So Opal is 3.29 million on the list. if that's what you're asking. And Park Center is, yeah, 1.98.
So if those were out and we wanted to at least include phase one of the east pond, which is 3, that's less total money than what we've got now into it, right? And then that could potentially be something that
Well,
council decides to move.
My understanding is we're not voting on a total bond amount. We're just prioritizing a list of order that we think they should be done. Then the city council will go through and say, yes, we're gonna do these, and this will be the bond amount.
No.
So,
Okay.
so we're just gonna set a priority for each one of these. So if whatever we put at the bottom, the city council probably won't.
Did they ask specifically that we add it to the list and prioritize it within what we've already prioritized?
Just, yes, one councilman in particular requested that it just be on the list for consideration. Not, not an emphasis that we need to put it at the top or the bottom, just that y'all consider.
They would like to see it included.
Right,
I think that's fair.
so
There's
that, yeah,
there's six bond committee members not here right now. So I would say we just stick with what we got.
Yep, and, yeah, y'all can rank it anywhere you want to,
I'll just make it number 7.
and
Well, actually, we could, on the Parks Board, the number 6 one, the Highland Station Western Trail, we were talking, and that's a different trail than what we thought we were talking about at our meeting, so we actually probably would not include that one at all. Like, I actually did not rank the Highland Station Western Trail because there's a different trail that's part of the master plan, which is something that I probably wouldn't recommend coming to a bond anyway and trying to do the things like we're doing elsewhere with saving up money and using budget to be able to pay for that. So I would definitely rank it above the Western Trail because that's a 700-foot section of sidewalk that's not putting anybody out right now.
That's a sidewalk project?
Yeah. Or, I mean, it's not a sidewalk, it's more of a walking path that's gonna connect 2 different sections of existing, so.
That's the Western Trail you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. That one, there's another very similarly priced project that's also for a connector between 2 sidewalk paths. That would just make it to where people in that, and we're gonna revisit that in our next bond, or next parks meeting, to be able to say, hey, we wanna get this done, but we're not sure about, it's not gonna be a bond thing, it wouldn't be on the list this year, so.
yeah, so just to reinforce what Mr. Ray said, he's exactly right. I mean, it's up to y'all as a committee what you recommend and what the order of priority that recommendation is in. And you can go by this list that we provided, and we're just asking that you add the East Pond project into that list.
Okay.
So for consideration is all.
So are we gonna do one bond or to encompass everything? Or will we do 2 bonds? Like, will we take the animal shelter on its own bond?
Yes, they'll be separated by propositions. So a proposition for the animal shelter, one for street projects, one for parks projects, one for sidewalk projects.
Okay,
However that, so it can be broken down project by project or categories of projects, probably categories of projects because that lends a little more discretion into if there's an overrun or underrun on one project, then it's not necessarily tied down to one specific thing. It's in a category of projects. So, but the animal shelter will be a proposition by itself. So in the past bond election was set up that way with 3 different propositions. So the voters have the opportunity to vote on each one of those individually. Okay. Any other questions on any of the projects that we've presented on or discussed before? Anybody need any clarification on anything or any of the the finance part of it while we have Kim here. Okay. You can still ask questions anywhere along the way, but I think tonight would be, we could get a long way if we just start a discussion on the actual rankings. And I think Judy had recommended that we, and I think it's a good idea, that we recommend, or that we talk about each category of projects and rank those projects within that category, 1 through whatever. And then at some point, we can combine all that into an overall priority ranking. So if, for the sake of just a place to start, let's start on the streets projects if we can, because that one's probably going to take a little bit of time. There's more projects in that one than any of the rest of them. So we, Gabe had sent out an email after the last meeting to get everybody's ranking off of this original sheet of spreadsheet, and I think we got 6 or 7 responses back. If you responded back, I have yours. If you need a copy of it, if you don't have it with you, or don't recall exactly how you ranked them, but if we can, let's just kind of go around the room and kind of get a ranking of the street projects, if you don't mind, if we can get that far with everybody. Does everybody have an idea of how they would rank the street projects just by themselves? Mm-hmm. Okay?
No.
All right. Well, let's just start with that, and let's start with Mr. Pete then.
Okay. Basswood intersections, number 8. Basswood Quarter, number 9. Opal Street maintenance, number 10. Park Center Boulevard maintenance, number 11. Industrial Phase 2, number 15. Phase 1, 16. Phase 4, 17. McElroy Phase 2A, 18. McElroy Phase 2B, 19. And if you want to consider this last park, number 20.
We're just ranking right now based off of the projects, the project types, not the overall ranking.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
just, and that's fine the way he did it, but you can just do it 1 through whatever on that category if it's simpler to
Okay.
do that. Okay. Judy, do you have yours?
Yes, looking at the PCI, I ranked McElroy Phase 2, Main Street to Spring Hollow as my first choice. My second choice is Industrial Phase 1, Blue Mountain to the railroad, because those are 35 and 38. And then Industrial Phase 2, Railroad to Ardent Mills, that's PCI at 55. And then McElroy Phase 2, Basswood intersections, 5, Basswood Corridor, 6, and McElroy Phase 4, Old Decatur to Willow Creek is 7.
Oh, you did streets and sidewalk.
I'm sorry,
You did streets and sidewalk?
I just did streets.
Got down sidewalk here.
Well, there is a sidewalk for Old Decatur, for Basswood, Blue Mountain to Whistle Stop, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the intersection and the corridor. And here's Basswood and the sidewalk. Okay, here's McElroy Phase 2, number 1, Industrial Phase 1, my second one, and then Industrial Phase 2, Railroad to Ardent Mills. for Old Decatur to Willow Creek. Is there going to be anything to, on the Old Decatur to Willow Creek on McElroy, is there going to be anything done to ease the congestion for the school?
That is not included in any of these bond proposals
Okay,
at this time, so we've,
I'm going to leave it at 7.
okay. Okay. Did y'all want to include the Opal Street maintenance, even though in that, since that's a street project? I want to make sure we don't leave that one out just because it says maintenance.
Well, no, I put Park Center and Opal Street as my 1 and 2, but I've got those categorized as maintenance, not as CIP.
Okay, well, it's all gonna be in the, we weren't gonna really separate,
Okay,
it all just
okay.
needs to fall under streets, so we weren't really gonna separate it just because it's maintenance, so.
Okay, so then Park Center Boulevard and Opal Street would come in right under Industrial Phase 1. They would come in as the 3rd and 4th.
Okay, so Opal Street maintenance third,
Park Center is
Or-
what I put as 3rd,
Park Center third, okay,
but either one,
okay.
and then they come in between Industrial Phase 2, Railroad to Ardent Mills.
Okay. Okay. Amanda, would you like to take a shot at that?
Had McElroy Phase 4, Old Decatur to Willow Creek, number 1. Opal Street and Park Center, 2 and 3. Phase 2A, Main Street to Spring Hollow for 4. Industrial Phase 1, 5. Phase 2B, Spring Hollow to Levon for McElroy. And then, let's see, where's 7?
You still have industrial phase.
Okay, industrial phase 2, and then the Basswood intersection and corridor as 8 and 9.
Okay,
Okay, you want me to go down from the, I'm gonna go from the top, and how I've ranked them that way, okay?
okay, that's fine.
Easier for you, is that easier?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, so McElroy Phase 2, I have that as a 2. And then I have Spring Hollow to Levon, 2B and 3. I have Old Decatur to Willow Creek Park as a 1. That's because of congestion and exactly what we were talking about with the schools. Industrial Phase 1, Blue Mountain to Railroad, 4. Phase 2 of the industrial phase is 5. Basswood intersection is 6. Basswood Quarter is 7. And then the maintenance is 8 and 9.
Okay. All right, that was easy, thank you.
I will follow her lead.
All right,
Just the way my brain thinks.
So I got, you ready?
yes, sir.
McElroy Phase 2 is 1. McElroy Phase 2 is number 4. McElroy Phase 4 is a 7. Industrial Phase 1 is a 2. Industrial Phase 2 is a 3. Basswood intersection 8. Basswood corridor 9. Opal maintenance 6, and Park Center maintenance 5.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I have McElroy Phase 2A and 2B as 1 and 2. McElroy Phase 4 as a 7. Industrial Phase 1 as 4, Phase 2 as 5, Basswood intersection 8, the Basswood corridor as 9, Opal Street maintenance as 6, and Park Center Boulevard maintenance as 3.
Okay, thank you.
I kept mine just as the streets, not the full list. So for number 1 for streets, I have McLeroy Phase 2A. Number 2, I have Industrial Phase 1. 3, McLeroy Phase 2B. 4, Industrial Phase 2. 5, McLeroy Phase 4. 6 is Park Center maintenance. 7 would be Opal maintenance. 8, Basswood intersections. 9, Basswood corridor.
Got it, thank you.
McElroy Phase 2A I have as 1. Phase 2B I have as 4. McElroy Phase 4 I have as 8. Industrial Phase 1 as 2. Industrial Phase 2 as 3. Basswood intersection as 7. Basswood corridor as 9. Opal Street maintenance at 5. Old Decatur, no, sorry, Park Center at 6.
Okay, thank you.
That's the ranking order of everything you gave me. Animal shelter number 1, so on and so forth. It cuts off at about 38 million, and then when it gets down there, round about there. I took the same thing you did and just put it in 1 through 19, and then this new park is number 20. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move to the parks. And, yeah, actually, that was working really good, where you just start on the list and start with William Houston Park Playground and give me the ranking either overall or just by the parks categories. That would be, either way, be fine. So, John, you want to start us off on that quick?
Okay with what I gave you deciphered?
Yes, sir.
Okay, William Houston Park is number 2. Playground, baseball field. William Houston Park is 2 and 3. Highland Station Park is number 4. And then the Willow Creek Park, Dog Park, 12. Willow Creek Pickleball Port, 13. And Highland Station Dog Park, Pickleball, Basketball, 14. And that's it for parks overall. There were 6 of them, and that's the way I categorized the whole shebang.
All right, okay.
Can you come back to me, because I've got mine in a different order.
Okay.
I've got mine ordered one to whatever, and I don't have them separated by parts.
That's kind of why I'm saying you guys catch up, but I was also wondering if maybe, not that I'm gonna change my answer, but I would love to hear how they rank
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
Because I don't want to throw anything off as far as averages or anything.
You want to go?
The way that we have them written out on the paper for us in our Parks Board meeting is already in ranking order.
Right.
So the way it goes down for us, and I'm assuming for Thomas as well, if not, please let me know. If you just go down the list, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's the order in our meeting that we kind of set prioritized.
Right, okay.
Say if there was money for the first phase of the pond, East Pond project. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on where that would rank within the seven, if we had that.
For me personally, I would just put it one above the Western Trail. So it would be 6 and Western Trail would be 7.
For me, yes, we had the 1, 2, 3, 4 that he's included on here. I changed mine slightly based off of the conversations that we've been having in here, and understanding that if the Park Center Boulevard maintenance gets done as a bond, it should be probably in the same, what'd you say, proposal, or
Proposition?
proposition. It should probably be in the same proposition as William Houston Park, because if they're gonna be working on that road already, making the road better, it's very easy to tie that to something else with parks and have that be a proposition to be able to at least get some stuff done there. So I've got William Houston Park baseball field and parking is 1. William Houston Park Playground is 3. The Willow Creek Dog Park is 4. The Highland Station Dog Park Pickleball and Basketball Court, I moved up to 2 based off conversations, especially in the last meeting. The Willow Creek Pickleball Court Parking and Playground is 5. The Highland Station Western Trail, I would put behind the East Pond $3 million if we were going to have anything. And if we were going to end up freeing up about that somewhere through other financial means on these other projects, I would throw it in there. And my thought on the pond is we have enough stuff that's already exists that needs to be addressed before we go get the next nice new shiny thing. And that's just me. Take care of what we have that needs work first before we get the new shiny thing.
Okay, thank you. All right, who's next?
Am I next? Did you get to go?
David or Clayton?
Oh, okay. Mine are easy.
Okay,
However, they're on there, 1 through 6.
There you go.
okay. And
Perfect.
can you,
Sorry, let me read with the light on. 1 through 6, please. So
Yeah,
starting with the baseball field and parking's number 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from there.
okay, and would you throw the East Pond project in there somewhere?
So my only concern about, from a voter perspective, is you want me to vote to spend $3 million for one phase of a multi-phase project that you're gonna spend 20 years worth of money on. So it's one of those things that from a voter, would you rather just have the whole package? It's 10 million for this project because we can now show you what it's gonna entail. Otherwise, what am I getting for $3 million? What's phase 1 going to entail? And if that's not something you got 20 years worth of money on, I can't see voters wanting to spend 20 years worth of money on that phase. That's just my take on it, not knowing what you get out of phase 1. If it's not usable, then it would be everything or nothing for that project.
That was going to be my question, would it be the full $10 million you put in there or nothing at all? Don't section because I mean, obviously it's going to be done in phases, but
Right.
whether or not we approve the bond or they submit it, this city council, like all or nothing, like give them all up front.
The only concern is if if we have concerns about a bond this soon after the 19 bond, if we're gonna go for a bond for anything else, when's the rest of it gonna get funded? So then the first phase may not pass because we don't have money we're funding
The follow-up.
a partial project. So yes, so the answer to the question would be, I'd say put the whole thing on there or none of it on there.
Okay, I'm with that.
Yeah.
We-
First part of it, just to understand, one of y'all said in the first phase of the East Pond was gonna be like what, the sidewalk part of it and then, parking lot?
That is,
Can you bring that back up? budget for the East Pond?
So for phase one, it would be the sidewalk, the bridge, seed, demolition, grading, drainage, wiring, circuitry, well pump, water tap, all of that kind of stuff.
I believe it was just, yeah, the walking trail and the park.
Yeah, so essentially. Sorry, essentially getting it
Prepped and
accessible,
ready.
right? Bathroom and park benches and everything like that would come in phase two.
Can you scroll up to show what's on phase two?
Yep. There were a few things that we took out of this, and with our meeting with Kimley Horn and with the city council, they did trim this down quite a lot from where we started. So it definitely seems like it's something that they want to have serious discussions and plans about, and at least get it out there that people know about it. I was glad to see the cost that came down from just doing seed as opposed to the Bermuda turf, right?
And I think we also saved a good amount of money with the parking lots, assuming they could be asphalt and a partnership with the county. That was another area we saved on.
There we go. So I agree that it makes most sense, put it all on there or nothing at all. And it would probably be, again, the lowest priority of, well, it'd be above the Western Trail, but
So that project would be my 7, just because it's the new shiny one.
Right,
But-
okay.
But no, one of the things I was gonna point out with the phase one, phase two, phase one gives you the walking trails to make it usable. Phase two, they're adding a parking lot and restrooms. So you get to spend more time there, and lighting, which are the high dollar items, is the lighting, the restroom, the electrical for restrooms. And I understand in that aspect why it's phase one and phase two, where I have no issue with phase one, phase two, that's where it's gonna cost us more.
7,
I would at least say, hey, let's make it usable, then if there's a desire to improve that, then do a phase two.
Just to clarify, there was a parking lot in phase one, but everything else you said was
Yeah,
accurate.
but may,
So to crawfish a little, whatever way you want to put it on there, it's my number 7.
Okay,
I did not realize, I missed that part about the parking lot on the first go-round, so I understand. It's a usable thing, it's just, doesn't have amenities. Okay.
well, and
correct.
again, I think this is a good conversation because obviously you could include in your recommendation to the council that, you know, to break it down or do it all at once is still are options that they might want to exercise. And I mean, I don't think there's, you know, they obviously have the oversight to do that, but you know, the fact that y'all are discussing it obviously makes it, I think, a viable solution to do it either way,
nope.
so.
so on my order, I was gonna do 1 to 5, and then the pond is 6, and then Highland Station is 7.
Okay. All right, let's come back.
Mine won't be popular, because my numbers are good. So, the baseball field 4, the playground 1, Willow Creek Dog Park 5, College Station Park 2, Willow Creek Park 3, College Station Western Trail 7, East Pond Fishing 6. And I might be inclined to move the East Pond Fishing if I had more information about it, but.
What are you questioning? What do you got?
Well, I just would like, I mean, I just quickly saw the, you know, I mean, I was just thinking about over in that area, there's not a lot of
Well,
nice space, right?
Nope.
And that would be a real
It is. It's a great project. We talked about it a lot in our meeting, in the meeting that we just set our priority list of what we were gonna bring to this. And we very easily could have talked ourselves into bringing everything, because it's all cool. It's all great. People are gonna love these things. They got dollar amounts on them that,
Right. Can you pull the picture up of the whole, what that project would look like again, please? Just glance at it quickly. Mine are good, but not that good.
so everything that's colorized is part of that project, whether it be the walking paths that are being developed, making the pond slightly bigger to be able to have walk-up areas, being able to have, I believe it's phase 2, the floating dock. Is that right?
We don't
That-
have anything like this.
Yeah, and that big section that's right there, it just looks open, that multi-purpose field, it's gonna be large, and it's gonna be open, and we're not going to fill it with a bunch of stuff. If people wanna go walk in the grass,
Want to leave it as much nature as possible.
yeah.
And that walking path goes all the way to Basswood? Or not?
That extension to Basswood is that, the number 6 project would be from this to Basswood.
Okay.
Okay. You can see the parking lot there on the right. There's also another one. Now, neither one of these exist right now. Is that right? The parking lot's out there?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no parking or anything there.
Yeah. So,
I believe it's I don't have the OPCC in front of me. I think it's the western parking lot is in phase 1.
and trying to keep it, as you can see from the image is, yeah, trying to maintain a lot of the tree cover that's out there so that people can just go out and be in nature, so.
So I'm gonna change my 5, I'm gonna move that to 5. Take my entire amount at 5 at least.
Okay.
And then, what I had was the Willow Creek Park, dog park, but I'll change that to whatever I had, 6. Flip those at least. That'd be really nice. And like I said, we don't really have, I mean, we have Willow Creek, but it's not, that's like apple and orange.
We got 2 proposals, and one of them was making this, but putting it in Willow Creek Park and redeveloping the creek to do that. But,
Yeah, but I like that this is in a different area of the.
yeah, it's like, we can't put everything in Willow Creek
No.
Park.
We need areas to-
So.
Thank you very much. Sure. Okay, so 4, 1. 6, 2, 3. 7. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
I'll go with 1, 2, 3 on how they are in the spreadsheet. The Houston Park baseball, then the playground, then Willow Creek Dog Park. My number 4 is going to be East Pond. 5 is the Highland Station Dog Park pickleball. 6 is Willow Creek pickleball. And 7 will be that Western Trail.
Okay, very good. Got it. All right, did we get you? Okay.
Yes, back to Judy.
We have to go back to Judy, okay.
As written, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, easy enough.
I like the way you think.
No, I was gonna come back to him on that, yeah. So, did you plug the East Pond project in? Yeah, in the total rankings or parks? In the parks, just the parks. Which one? I've got, I just listed it seven because you didn't mention it. You got William Houston, Willow Creek Park. Oh, William Houston is number 2 and number 3. Animal shelter's at the top of the list. Right. William Houston's number 2. William Houston's number 3. Highland Station Park, Western Trails, number 4. And then you got Old Cave, Sherwood, Longwood, number 5. Basswood, Blue Mountain, Whistle Stop, number 6. Palomino, number 7. Basswood intersection is 8 and 9. Opal Street maintenance, number 10. Park Center Boulevard maintenance, number 11. Willow Creek Park, 12 and 13 respectively. Highland Station Park, number 14. Industrial Phase 2, number 15. 16, number Phase 1. McElroy Phase 4, number 17. McElroy Phase 2, 18. McElroy Phase 2B, number 19. And Piston Park, number 20. Okay, now we don't want to leave out the sidewalk projects. So there's just 3 of those. We got Old Decatur, Basswood, and Palomino. So if you could, just tell me those 3 sidewalk projects, sir, Mr. Pete, how you have those ranked? The sidewalks? Yes, sir. Okay, in that order, Basswood, Palomino, and William Houston. Yeah, I'm sorry, Old Decatur, Basswood, and Palomino, in that order that you just mentioned? Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. All right, Judy, do you have yours?
1, 2, and 3,
Okay.
Old Decatur, Basswood, Palomino.
All right. You ready?
Mine's
3,
3, 2, 1.
2, 1. All right. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
One, two, three.
I'm also 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
1, 3, 2. I know, black sheep.
1, 3, 2.
Okay. Something going on down here on this end here. Okay. All right. So, and I've seen a lot of rankings of the animal shelter. If you will, just let's go around the room once and tell me your overall ranking of the animal shelter on the entire project sheet. Okay?
Number 1. I had to put the green button on.
Where's your animal shelter rank on the whole project sheet?
1.
Number 1? Okay.
1.
1.
All righty.
1.
1.
Okay. All right. So I will go back and tally all these up.
When is this going to council, our recommendations?
Well,
So
so
tomorrow?
if we can kind of come, it looks like y'all have given me enough information to kind of reach a consensus of this group right here anyway. If I can get, I've got Rick's, I need to get Rhonda's for sure, and Spencer, Carmen, and Lena, see if they want to weigh in on it. But Ideally, we would we would make the recommendation to the council as soon as possible and have the council agenda of the first February meeting where they consider something. That way, if the council doesn't come to
A recommendation.
yeah, if they need to do it again, then we'll have the second meeting, or we'll have to call a special meeting in February. The absolute drop dead deadline for them to have approved or disapproved the overall election vote is February 14th. So there's just one scheduled council meeting prior to that in February. So if we can get a consensus of the committee to them here pretty quick, then we will have plenty of time to do that, but at least before the first February meeting. So is there any other discussion that we need to have tonight that y'all want to bring up? Anything else? Any other questions to answer, or?
I know that we're recommending the animal shelter as number 1. Are you going to be letting council know whether it be base or option 1, 2, 3? Are we tying that into it as well, or is it just blanket animal shelter number 1?
I think we got the 17.5, right? So I think that's not the base, but it's also not the highest one, or is it the
Right.
highest one?
What we did to arrive at the 17.5 figure is, since we do not have a solid final deal on the property, we added a little money in for the property. We actually went with Marilyn's suggestion from the first night on the inflation for the next 3 years at a little bit higher than 5% per year. And then it includes the construction of the recommended animal arts recommendation for which was not the very top cost and not the very bottom, but right in between. It was like option number C, I think, in the scheme of 5 things. And so it includes, it's a kind of a turnkey thing, including FF&E. So that's how we arrived at the estimate of 17.5. You know, it give or take could be less or more, but that's a pretty good place to start for the council's consideration on what they would approve.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
hasn't gone through a design phase yet, so that's gonna be the first thing that it does. But
Right.
that 17.5 includes the design phase and then construction.
Yes,
So if after the design phase, they see that it's more than the bonded amount, city council has ways to amend that?
well, the bond is set at the bond that the voters vote on and approve. We would have to come up with additional money from fund balance or some other source to fill a gap.
But officially, we won't know the total cost until the design phase is done.
Quite likely, yes. Yeah, and the way it would use, and Kim, weigh in on this if you want.
She's trying to leave.
The way it, yeah.
I would strongly suggest that the amount included for the bond package for the animal shelter would be the highest possible cost. Not the Cadillac version, but it's going to be really hard to find additional funding if we're short. So we want to include whatever grade building you want, plus the inflation factor, plus a contingency, plus the land. You want because you don't want to have our citizens vote for an animal shelter and then we say, oops, that wasn't enough money, we can't build the animal shelter. So you want to have the estimate as complete as we possibly can.
Does that need to come from this committee, or does that fall on city council to determine what number is right?
I would assume that that's what we got from the animal arts people.
Yeah, that's what the animal arts assessment originally was supposed to do for us, and that's what we based that estimate on. So, but the council obviously would have the final say on what they.
So we don't change that number in here.
You could recommend something more or less if you'd like, but they will probably go by the estimate from the animal arts. The needs assessment.
Who will be building this?
I'm sorry?
Do we know who the construction people will be?
No, ma'am, we would have to put that out to bid.
Because I was gonna say, I know it's totally different, but in the school district, when we've gone out for bonds, and then once we, secure, once we're ready to get a builder, even if it's gonna be several months or a year, like for the Eagle Mountain High School, they were able to buy materials way in advance. Because those materials are just, we could not build Eagle Mountain High School now because it would cost us too much money.
Right.
If the inflation has been that much and the materials have gone up that much. So, I would encourage y'all to think about that too, as once the bond passes and you've got the design and you're ready to really talk to someone that can have the capacity to buy their materials in advance and those kind of things to save money.
Sure, and that's a great idea, and we actually had positioned ourselves for that with the Library Senior Center.
Okay.
And we're able to sell bonds at an unrealistically low place. And we brought Byrne Construction in on the project pretty early, and they were gonna buy stuff and store it for us if we needed to. The problem was every time we would check the price of something, it was going up. And so they suggested to wait, and we did a couple of redesigns, major redesigns on the design during that portion to try to reduce the cost. And unfortunately, every time we did, some kind of material would go up in price. So they were reluctant to jump out and buy extra materials, but you're exactly right, and I think that's a good place to be if we can do that. Yeah, it can work to your advantage to have somebody that has the capacity to buy bulk stuff that you know you're going to use.
I have some concerns recommending the recommended from the needs assessment. I personally would love for us to agree on recommending the base, the brick and mortar option. Because if you look at the breakdown, in the base estimate, it allocates $250,000 for a generator. That's not included in any of the other price points for options. Also, if we are looking at options, value option 1 or 3, it's noted that in 15 years, we're gonna have to replace that modular building, and the price of that modular building is allocated for $644,875, and that's the price of replacing it today, not in 15 years. So the overall price difference, and again, these numbers are going off of that sheet, not the new 17.5 that we were emailed about previously today. So the difference between base and either value option 1 or value option 3 would be only $605,125. So that would be the difference between going base, brick and mortar, all under one roof, as opposed to breaking it up in modular buildings. And to me, from what I saw in the 3 visits that we went to, the deterioration of Fort Worth North for those metal modular buildings was pretty bad. There was mold, there was cracks, there was foundation issues. In some of the medical buildings, there was tiles missing from the roof. There was brown water stains from leakage. So I feel like we're just shooting ourselves in the foot here, because we're just gonna have to go back in 10, 15 years and redo a lot of elements of the animal shelter from what we're trying to do right now. So
For a difference of 600,000.
for a difference of only $600,000. Now, if you put that in front of the voter, that's not enough, in my opinion, for someone to say, oh, I don't want the animal shelter. If it was, you know, $5, $10, $15 million difference, of course, that's huge. But for what we're paying for and what we're getting, I think the base is what we need to do moving forward from the animal shelter based on all the information, speaking to people on the ground from all of these facilities and seeing the facility in person and talking about the maintenance and the upkeep.
So what dollar amount would you go with?
18,125, like 18 million.
I don't know what that number would be accounting for all of the inflation costs.
It'd be about 700,000 if you say the difference is 600,000 between the top and and
605.
that one. It'd be about,
18.2 or so, right?
Yeah, I mean, 18.5 to be safe, if that's what we're doing for being safe about it.
Look at, this guy likes it. Jose likes it.
Yeah.
I'm
It makes sense.
I'm fine with the way Adele explained it.
okay. Is that okay for everybody to escalate that estimate a little bit? Anybody opposed to that? Okay, well, then,
Thank
that's-
you.
That's what, thank you. No, I don't disagree.
I think the more permanent, you know, the nicer, more permanent structure we can make, it's gonna be the better.
Exactly.
More bang for your buck, and I mean.
And like
people-
Amanda had mentioned in one of the other meetings, involving the community, having community events and stuff like that, I think that would be great.
All right, any other questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So since we talked about the pond project, and now we ranked the pond project, what dollar figure is being attached to that to go to council? Is it phase one, or is it the whole thing? Because then that plays into the overall total too, right? Because now we just lost $1 million to the animal shelter in a good way. In a good way. I would have said 20, you know, that's just me. But, so I didn't know what are you going to what's going to be going to council from us as a recommendation for that project?
Well, I think it would be prudent to just put the entire project in there at the 10 million figure. And again, let the council decide if they want to try to approve phase one, phase two, or both in the overall ranking. But it's going to rank, you know, from the consensus here, it's going to rank near the bottom third at least, or maybe even the bottom fourth of the overall ranking. Yeah, probably bottom third anyway. So, you know, when decisions are made on the overall amount that's would be approved for an election, then, you know, it's gonna probably drop that bottom third, I would guess, or a little bit less.
As best I can tell, we're at 96 million and then a little bit for everything that's on the list so far.
Does that include the pond, or no?
Yeah, that's with the pond at 10 million.
That would be, yeah,
I got 96,240.
yeah, that'd be just about right based on the conversations tonight. So again, that's a starting point, and the council, you know, can approve 10% of that or 100%.
Because they're the ones that really have to determine the pulse of the city and the stomach for another bond election.
Correct.
You know, but we're all in agreement, we need an animal shelter, so hopefully they'll see
Absolutely.
that too, so.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
that's my-
I think that's going to be heard loud and clear.
Especially after what happened this week with the dog being dumped
Unfortunately.
because
yeah.
we were at capacity.
Yeah, and, yeah, that happens all over more than we hear about. Brent, are we leaving anything out on, from our conversation this afternoon? I want to make sure we covered it all.
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, I will just say about the pond, I believe the council person's request was to consider phase one, like get it usable, I think was the term. So, I don't know if that, but like you said.
But I also think his point about, well, if we just put it up there that it's phase one, but we don't have a phase two included into the bond conversation at all, somebody's first question is gonna be,
Yeah.
phase one of how many?
Well, and
You want to add anything?
I'm trying to balance that because almost every of the parks we broke into phases, you know, from the master plan. So in one vein, it's no different, but in the other, it's very different because the pond is going to feel very basic without those other amenities.
We do have
park-
William Houston Park on this list in multiple phases, right? So maybe they want to see that from us as far as, okay, the phase one of the East Pond would rank here in the phase two.
Right.
Yes, the East Pond's phase two would rank lower in the list.
Well, and there was even a William Houston Park Phase 3 that didn't make the list.
That didn't make the list, and that's, but that phase three of William Houston Park,
Was like a second playground, I think.
yeah, it's like a second playground, and it's stuff that cannot be done without the first two phases done.
Right.
I believe it had pickleball as well for William
Yeah, I
Houston
think it's
phase
pickleball.
two.
Yeah, so
and
we
like a-
decided to leave it
a
off because we got
natural
pickleball
playground.
courts coming in Willow Creek Park and
Yeah. I think the only thing,
Highland Station, yeah.
only thing, Lee, I'd just like to reemphasize was that the Phase 2A does not include design because the council has already decided to move forward with that design. So I think that was overall reflected in the rankings, but just want to reiterate that. And then I do not have any inflation baked into the cost of the roadways or sidewalks because I historically don't ever do that with the CIP plan because we don't necessarily know when that will happen.
It's very important that we include it in the bond package, though. I mean, like I said, we don't want to say we're doing this project for this amount of money, and we know that it's not going to happen
Totally
in the
agree.
next
So-
few years, because we still have the old bond projects that we're going to finish up, I assume, first. So,
Totally agree. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. So I'm happy to work with you to factor that in and just tell you what we've been seeing inflation-wise recently. But,
Would you say we're at 96
Yeah.
to 40?
Let's try to be a little optimistic for the next 4 years that inflation's going to go down. How about that?
no, you're right,
You
yeah.
know?
I agree.
And myself personally, I went through this list.
Good point.
And I cut it off at 39,000, because you're gonna be looking at over 100 million. You'd be hard pressed to maybe get 50 million to pass.
So my quick question would be, Lee, the recommendation of the council for the animal shelter would be the brick and mortar, because the modular right now, we're fixing to run into some issues with the winter, trying to keep 3 buildings heated versus 1. So would that be a recommendation to the council that they do it brick and mortar under 1 building instead of 3 separates?
Yes, I believe so, that we would go straight from the base, and in the base is the brick and mortar all under one roof.
Yeah, I think that's been the direction I've gotten from most everybody on the committee. What we're up front was try to get everything under one roof if possible and the best solid construction we can get. So, we'll suggest that. And I, again, things in phases is again, within the authority of the council to approve different phases or all the above. I think Mr. Pete's point, there is probably a cutoff or there definitely is a cutoff that the citizens are going to be apt to hold it under based on the overall impact to the tax rate and the conditions at the time that the election comes around. So, to say we're taking away from one thing or whatever, I think I would look at it more if we do things in phases, and the second phase is just probably going to be postponed to a future another bond election or something. So this is some great information. What I would ask all of y'all to do for me in the next few days, if possible, if you have not sent me your overall spreadsheet ranking, or if it changed tonight, would you send that back to me, update it, and send it to me sometime in the next few days, if possible?
You want it by project type or 1 through 20 like Mr. Pete did and just rank everything?
Just
based-
everything from top to bottom, just 1 to 20 would be perfect. If you'll just send that back to me on this spreadsheet, or you can put it in an email, however you want to, but I know some of y'all have already sent it to me, but it may have changed, the rankings may have changed based on the new information tonight and the discussion tonight.
So do we add the pond to the list then?
Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead and add the pond in there in the ranking. It'd be great.
Do we need to break it up into phase 1 and phase 2?
I wouldn't, so I think what we can do, and that's a good segue into the last thing I was going to talk about. So, excuse me. I think it's relevant to let the council know your thinking on how this could be, how the end product could look in terms of all or nothing projects, you know. So I think it's important to include in your recommendation to the council that certain phases could be, you know, added, probably especially on that project or some of the street projects like Trenton suggested. Because if they know that you're okay with that, I think it's something that they'll definitely consider. And you may end up, because of that, getting a little more bang for the buck out of this particular bond package in terms of being able to get things started and at least initiated. So I would suggest that we include that in your recommendation, that you think that's perfectly okay for them to do that. But for this purpose, if you will, just rank it overall as a total package.
And Lee, will you send that to the other, will you include the pond project with the people that are not?
Yes, yes.
And then I would let them know. And then will you send us the final results of the rankings or no?
Yes, I will. As soon as I can get it all together. And yeah, I'll do a synopsis of tonight and kind of add up these categories by the way y'all have ranked them, and then I'll send that back out to everybody. And then we'll take that along with your overall rankings, and we'll see what we can come up with a priority from 1 to 20.
There you go.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you so
Anything
much.
else? All right. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. Not at this point, unless y'all want to have another one.